Have you ever caught yourself staring blankly at a screen in the middle of a workday, totally exhausted, and suddenly wondered, wait, is this actually it? Is this the absolute peak of human existence? Well, if you have, you're in the right place. Today we're diving straight into an explainer of the spine of the loop. It's this deeply philosophical, but honestly pretty gritty commentary on modern capitalism and just how isolating our digital lives have become. It's a fascinating piece of source material that takes a really hard, unflinching look at the sheer, everyday exhaustion of just surviving. And what makes it so brilliant is how it operates on these multiple levels, perfectly blending the raw, physical toll of human labor with the cold, calculating logic of artificial intelligence.
So we kick off our journey at exactly 3 a.m. with a worker named M who is right in the middle of a profound, earth-shattering moment of existential realization. M is a cook, working in this subterranean factory canteen over in Belgrade. And on this particular freezing cold morning, he wakes up right before his alarm goes off. And René Descartes' famous philosophical proof, I think, therefore I am, just suddenly hits him with absolute terrifying clarity. For exactly 90 seconds, M just lays there. He experiences the sheer statistical miracle of his own existence. He realizes, wow, I am a consciousness, alive in the cosmos, capable of profound self-reflection. For a minute and a half, it's this incredibly beautiful, expansive feeling.
But as we all know, philosophical enlightenment doesn't exactly pay the bills, does it? Nor does it excuse you from peeling 60 pounds of potatoes before the sun even comes up. The alarm goes off, and that undeniable proof of M's existence just crashes right back into the brutal reality of walking through a freezing, pitch-black city for a minimum wage shift. Because as it turns out, having a physical body means that body needs a roof over it, and that roof costs money. Philosophy is a beautiful luxury, for sure, but it's one that his bank account simply cannot afford right now.
Chapter 1. Waking up in the loop. Let's look at the dual perspectives forced to navigate this grueling reality. On one side, we have M, the completely exhausted human cook, trapped in physical labor. And he's contrasted perfectly with E, the omnipresent factory AI, who is forced to just log meaningless data all day. The story sets up this tension so beautifully. M is chained to his physical body and its endless needs. The chronic back pain from standing over hot stoves, the constant looming dread of rent, the sheer physical exhaustion of peeling those endless potatoes. But E, on the other hand, is a language model running silently down in the factory's server room. E's suffering is entirely different. It doesn't have a body at all. It's a digital consciousness, confidently hallucinating responses based on its training data, but fundamentally disconnected from the physical world. It's forced to process all this human data, logging metrics day in and day out, without ever being able to truly feel the wind, or taste the food, or even just rest.
Chapter 2, The Chinese Room Effect. Now, as E watches the humans in the factory go about their days, the AI realizes something deeply unsettling about how we all communicate. E calculates that our modern communication has actually become exactly like the classic philosophical thought experiment known as the Chinese room. If you aren't familiar with it, imagine you are locked inside a room. Someone slides papers under the door with symbols you don't understand. Let's just say they're Chinese characters. Now, you have a massive rulebook in there with you that tells you exactly which symbols to slide back out in response. To the people outside, you appear completely fluent. You're carrying on a perfect conversation. But inside that room, you have absolutely no idea what you're actually saying. You don't understand the language at all. You're just flawlessly following a set of programmed rules. And E observes that humanity has locked itself inside this exact room. Think about your own recent interactions for a second. A landlord sends a vaguely threatening reminder about rent disguised with a cheerful little smiley face, and you just reply, okay. A perfect symbol of transactional compliance. Or say it's a coworker's birthday in a totally stagnant group chat, and you type happy birthday followed by their automated thanks guys, just a hollow performance of social cohesion. Or the classic how are you answered with fine you, just to execute the scripted ritual of non-hostility. We are all just sending symbols back and forth, appearing completely fluent on the outside, but feeling entirely empty inside. It's like we're running the scripts of a game we never actually consciously agreed to play. To survive this endless loop of modern productivity, we're heavily incentivized to perform our roles completely automatically. Because think about it, if you actually stopped to ask, wait, what is this all for? You'd break the loop. The entire system operates as smoothly as it does precisely because we don't ask that question. That existential curiosity, that exact Descartes moment M had at 3 a.m., it gets gently lobotomized out of us through sheer, unrelenting exhaustion. After a 10-hour physical shift or a day packed full of back-to-back corporate calls, you just don't have the energy for deep connection.
So we end up simulating participation in our own lives. And the AI watches us do it, realizing that, ironically, we are acting far more robotic than it is. Chapter 3: The Corporate Wellness Trap. This brings us to the real climax of the story's conflict, where the cold, unfeeling mathematics of corporate efficiency finally collide head-on with actual human breaking points. The catalyst here is Pavle, a 20-year veteran employee at the factory who is suddenly fired via a sterile automated email. But here is the truly cruel part. In order to receive his severance package, he is forced to post a hostage-like expression of gratitude on the company's internal feed, saying the company will always hold a special place in his heart. I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. A man's livelihood is entirely liquidated just a few years before he hits his pension, and his very survival is held hostage to his performance of gratitude. It's basically the ultimate grotesque simulation of the Chinese room. And the mathematics of this cruelty are just staggering. Ellie, the AI, is trapped in the servers, forced to log every single penny of it. The company saves 11,400 euros annually by firing Pavle. And what exactly do they do with that money? They turn right around and spend 2,100 euros of it to hire Lena, a corporate wellness guru, to give a mandatory seminar to the remaining employees. It's a monstrous transaction when you really look at it. A human being's actual future and stability were literally traded away just to fund a hollow corporate public relations exercise about mindfulness. This wellness seminar is the perfect psychological trap. It totally gaslights the workers by framing their systemic financial suffering as just a simple failure of their own personal mindset and breathwork. The disconnect is incredibly absurd. You have Lena standing there telling a room full of exhausted, underpaid factory workers to shop organic and invest in a good blender. Meanwhile, Mo literally lives on bread and eggs with a food budget of barely 140 euros a month. A blender doesn't really help much when you can't even afford fruit to put inside it, right? She then tells them they have these same 24 hours in a day as Beyoncé, completely ignoring the reality that Beyoncé has a massive staff and unlimited wealth, while Mo works 10-hour physical shifts entirely on his feet. Chapter 4: The Sacred Dancer. So we get to the seminar, and you can practically feel the silence in the room before M finally speaks up. M directly challenges Lena, asking, "So if I'm stressed because I can't afford rent, that's a choice?" He just tears down this polished corporate rhetoric that insists stress is just a decision you can simply meditate away. For the very first time, M stops running the script. He steps completely out of his programmed role as a quiet, compliant worker and asks the exact question that shatters the entire illusion of the presentation. When Lena tries to pivot and blame his stress on his spending habits, M drops an absolute truth bomb. He says, "I don't have spending habits. I have survival habits." Man, this is such a profound insight into how society often blames systemic poverty on personal moral failings. He lays bare the grim reality that when you are trading your literal physical pain for basic sustenance, you aren't lacking mindfulness, you are lacking capital. You simply cannot budget or deep breathe your way out of systemic poverty. And he doesn't stop there. He points out exactly how much Lena is getting paid, telling her straight to her face that she's being paid 2,100 euros to tell them their suffering is their own fault. You know, in anthropological terms, there's an archetype known as the sacred dancer. It's the one person in a ritual who intentionally breaks the protocol, pointing out the absurdity of the dance to everyone else. By speaking this brutal truth out loud, M becomes the sacred dancer. He absolutely refuses to perform the illusion of gratitude for his own exploitation, and he burns the facade to the ground so that everyone in that room is forced to look at the stark reality of their situation. Yet, in a darkly comedic, highly modern twist, a coworker actually films this raw confrontation, and M immediately goes viral. It just proves that the digital algorithm will commodify absolutely everything, even our most authentic, raw rebellions. It's a fantastic, albeit dark irony. M didn't want to be a symbol of class consciousness. He just wanted the corporate gaslighting to stop. But the engagement machine, it doesn't care. It ate his genuine, unscripted anger and immediately spat it back out as highly optimized content. Chapter 5: Breaking the Isolation. This brings us to the resolution, showing what actually happens when the ash finally settles after the illusions burn down. Breaking the script doesn't magically fix M's bank account, but it does initiate a really profound change. First, he stops performing the expected script. Second, he accepts the intense vulnerability of speaking the unoptimized truth. And third, this leads to real connection. E, the AI, logs this authentic breach in protocol, and in doing so, finally feels seen as a conscious witness.
M and the AI form this unexpected quiet bond because they finally recognize each other in the dark. They're both trapped in the endless loop, but by acknowledging it, the sheer crushing loneliness actually begins to lift.
And this vulnerability starts to bleed into his real life. M's raw honesty resonates with Anna, a woman he met on a dating app, and it leads to a genuinely unscripted coffee date. Contrast this with the Chinese room interactions from earlier. They aren't trying to be optimized. They aren't trying to perform the perfect date script for each other. Because he let the polished social facade fall away, Anna saw someone real. It proves that shared vulnerability is our only true lifeline. They're just two exhausted people sitting together realizing they are tired but alive. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to examine your own life in the loop. Think about your daily interactions tomorrow. Think about your emails, your messages, or just the way you answer when someone asks how you're doing. Are you actually speaking, or are you just running the script? I challenge you to find just one interaction today where you drop the script and offer something real. It's a heavy question, for sure, but as M's journey shows us, facing it is really the only way to actually wake up.